Hey everybody, it's Bill Brandmeier. I'm with the ShareWaves Foundation, powered by Sports Radio 810 WHB, and we are in the fancy studio recording our first March Gladness podcast. March Gladness, it's before the madness, let there be gladness. We are celebrating everything that's good about youth sports in Kansas City. We are featuring 6 programs of impact, and throughout the month, you're going to hear about programs of impact. And what are those? These are grassroots initiatives that hit home for kids right where they live. We are going into kids' homes, into their elementary schools, into their places of play, and we are impacting them with physical activity, exercise, and the quality sports experiences that they deserve. And that's what this is all about. And today, we're going to feature one of my favorite groups of men. These guys have been working so hard to try to bring incredible resources to parents and to students and to coaches throughout the Kansas City area to help them get the most out of youth sports. I'm here with my good friend Jason Holzer. Easy for me to say. Jason Holzer is here, and so is Jim Hoover. These guys are incredible. We're going to have a great conversation. Really glad you joined us. This is March Gladness, Programs of Impact. ShareWaves is here to bring it. Let's go. All right, guys, how are you doing, man? I got Jason Holzer, Jen Hoover. Welcome. This is our first podcast for March Gladness. I'm so excited you're here. We are featuring our programs of impact. You guys kind of have an idea of what these programs are all about. Do you have any idea why I chose 40 Athlete as one of my programs of impact? Is that baffling you? Do you have any questions about it?
Well, I think the important thing is you're talking about the why. Like, why is this even important in the first place, right? And you look at all the things that kids are going through even before COVID, like, they're asking us for help. And they may not be doing it like directly, but just kind of their behavior wise, like that kind of thing, some of the emotional things that kids go through, some of the things kids experience for the first time, they're trying to navigate things. And sports is a great way to do that, but it's who can we help these kids become by playing sports? It's one thing to play. It's another thing to help them, teach them to become the best versions of themselves while they play.
Right, and there's just so much information out there. Parents have to kind of figure it out and find their way with their kids, figure out different kinds of sports, what the family can afford, what the kid wants to play, what kind of experience they might have once they get to the team that they're on, how that impacts them when they come home from practice and from games. How do we use sports to encourage our kids, but also build them up and use it as a strategic way of getting them into a better way of thinking and a better way of life, right? So that's a critical piece to the 40 athlete model, right? Really underscoring the idea that sports has this power to change a kid's life if we use it right. Give me the 40 athlete elevator pitch, Jim. How do you explain it to people when they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically 40 athletes is using sports as a vehicle, as a carrot, right, to teach like essential life skills, to transform lives. And really we talk about to help individuals win the game of life. A lot of times win the inner game because even Jason, we've talked about this, and I know you kind of get your heartstrings with Jason of losing his dad to suicide. We talk about like the CDC's reported like 50% of people are struggling with depression, anxiety, or suicidal thoughts. And Jason, you kind of mentioned a lot of times when people may be in their life, they're not in their life, they're in their thoughts. The thoughts they have, so we can help them understand their thoughts better. Maybe they make better decisions and they're still here today, right?
Well, I think it's also about, not only that piece, but people that have experienced trauma, people that have experienced like what's next? How do you move forward? How can you heal? How can you, become a better person through adversity? I think so many times people see adversity as this thing of like, oh man, I want to try to avoid as much as possible. But the truth is, in order for us to become our best versions of ourselves, we got to go through adversity. Now, I'm not wishing anybody to lose their parent like I did, but it happened. You have to accept it. And then you're like, you know what? How can I flip that and make it into something positive? And that's the definition of resilience too, is like, here's something that happened to me. How do I seek positive outcomes and accept for what it is, go on that healing journey, and then find some way to turn it into a purpose, turn it into a passion to make humanity better.
Well, one thing I was going to mention too, we get caught up in sports and winning trophies and medals and championships and all this stuff. And I get people want to succeed. But I think we lose sight, and like you said, what are you becoming through the sport you're playing? Right? Are you becoming a better person?
Right.
And if we can help people become better people, like you said, it's like you're going to lose games. It's okay. You're going to go through adversity. It's not so much you're losing. what are you learning through the experiences that are going to help you become better in life?
Yeah, so these are some serious ideas, serious thoughts we're having. We kind of got deep pretty quick. I want to take a step back, just kind of lighten the mood here. When you guys met 5 years ago?
Oh, we met like
10 years ago?
It might have been even 12.
11? Yeah,
11,
somewhere around
12
there.
years
You were
ago.
already working with kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were already on your track to be a physical ed teacher. You're the athletic director at St. Therese up north. You work with kids every single day. You're the PE teacher. You're involved in kids' lives. You've been doing that. That was a track on. You've been working with athletes. Tell me a little bit the backstory of 40 Athletes, how you guys met, how you fell in love, and now how you're building a life together.
What do you think about it? I was, with MoCan and starting MoCan basketball up, and he was looking for an internship, and Jason came and started working with us, and something I had him do at the beginning, I felt like when I was a part of that organization and leading it, I was like, we're not just going to do basketball. We're going to teach kids how to become better. And I started doing like character words of the week, right? And I told Jason, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have one word of the week. We're going to write something up. We're going to send emails out to parents, coaches. They understand. And here's what we're focusing on with these individuals in the program, right? We're going to reinforce it. And we're going to have like almost, we talked about having a character person of the week, right?
Yep.
And I said, Jason, here's what I want, and here's what I want you to do. And he went to work, and he was passionate about it and helped create this. And we started putting this stuff out there, and we had parents reach out. And these were parents that are like executives and big businesses, that type of stuff. And they're like, we want to get involved. How can we help out? We see what you're doing for kids. Right. And we're like, we're just sending a character word of the week. Again, our coaches to reinforce it, right?
Yeah. When it's and for me at the time, I was getting my master's in sports management, and I was looking for an opportunity just to learn, grow, and then our mutual friend Levy Schrock said, "Hey, Jason, you should check out MoCan." I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And a couple years before that, like about a year after my dad passed away, I'm a man of faith, and I was like, I asked God, like, I need mentors, right? Like my dad that I loved, he's gone now. I was like, and then sure enough, like when you ask, you shall receive, and Jim's been one of my biggest mentors. Like the last 10 plus years, as long as I've been in Kansas City and been involved in basketball.
But and Jim, your career could have taken a different path. You could have gone into coaching high school, coaching college. You chose to invest in the elite basketball players of Kansas City, help build them up through the MoCan program. MoCan has impacted kids that, you can go through a list of all the different kids that have gone through the MoCan program and come out better on the other side. It's a transformative program, and I'm sure that anyone that has been associated with what MoCan is trying to do, they would look at and go, yeah, they have set the standard of youth basketball competition here in Kansas City. What made you decide to invest in that particular program, that the nonprofit AAU basketball elite players, and how have you moved on from that to get into what you're doing now with 40 Athletes? Because some people would look at that and go, that's my career. I'm going to just be the AAU guy.
Well, and I was in college. I was at UMKC. I was coaching there, and then a guy named Matt Souther, he was there.
Sure.
And so then I got out, and I was tired of making like $20,000, right? $20,000. I'm like, I want to make more money, right? So I went out and tried to go into real estate and business. I'm making $1 million, right? And so when I got out, then I started having individuals reach out to me and be like, hey, well, you coach like this fifth grade team. I'm like, no, I'm not coaching a fifth grade team. I'm not doing that, right? So one of my best friends growing up, he kept hammering. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And we had these 7 kids, we called them the 7 buddies. We had a good little team and had success. And then somebody saw that, and then they asked me to do more. Another team, I started doing camps and clinics. I just started getting pulled back in. And then Matt got out, and he's like, hey, I have this idea, what I want to create. And he's like, would you help me? And I was like, sure. So I did that, for a while, and I was doing that for 10 to 12 years. And then there was another opportunity in basketball. It kind of led me out of it. And then for me with the 40 Athletes is part of me, like with the MoCan, I felt like, sending a character word of the week, that's fine. But can you develop life skills training like you do the hard skills in sports? It's a constant spaced repetition, right? You show up and you work on your shooting, and you're going to shoot 50 shots today, 50 tomorrow. You don't shoot 250,000 shots in one day.
Right.
And I figure in life skills and character traits, we just kind of talk about it. We don't take kids through like micro lessons and help them study it and then also understand it and then implement it as action steps in their lives. And part of the 40 athletes is getting these kids to understand is what you do at home, what you do in school, and what you do in your extracurricular activities matters. It's have these consistent habits so you're the same. You're not different in these areas. Because you see at times kids will be disrespectful at home, class clown in school, and then they're trying to be really cool in basketball, football, whatever, and then what happens, right? They show their bad character.
Right.
What happens, right? So if we're consistent in what we do, and as coaches and as parents working together as kind of this village mentality to develop these young people, now we're developing these habits in their life to be successful, whatever they decide to do.
So that makes a ton of sense. So explain to me the 3D athlete. So what are the three
Well,
dimensions?
the four dimensions.
Right. Tell me the 3 dimensions.
Okay.
Is the fourth dimension?
So fourth dimension is the physical.
Okay.
The physical side. Like, and you think about in sports and in life, we focus 98, 99% of the time on the physical side.
Right.
What we eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how we sleep,
Right.
Our workouts, skill development, whatever it is. But when you think about it, like we talk about in sports, Jason, is a lot of people struggle with their identity. When they get done playing sports, they say, well, I'm a basketball player. I'm a football player. No, that's not who you are. It's what you do. You're a spiritual being, right? You live in this physical body, and you've been blessed with an incredible mind that's been conditioned at a young age, right? And you have this mind that you can create things in your life, but all these emotions are tied to us too. So again, if we understand we're in these 4 dimensions and we understand it and we learn how to develop these and balance them out, we can live more sustained, fulfilled life, right?
Well, I think too, it's as a coach, you're the example to these kids. And I'll give you an example, this weekend, my 8th grade team at St. Teresa, we ended up winning the city championship. But
congratulations, brother. Oh, there you go. Come on,
that,
celebration time.
And I did get a couple of your buddies on Jimmy's team, though. They were on the other team. But
City Jams.
before that, though, I had them take them through some imagination. Like the kids don't understand how their minds work. They're 14 years old. Their brain doesn't develop till they're 25. Right. But out of this book I read them, it talked about how golfers would lower their score just by imagining themselves like swinging better. Just use, like they called it chair exercises. Like you literally sat in a chair and exercise, and just the reps that they would do. And I told these kids on Thursday on our last practice, like go home. You have Friday off because we had our auction set up, and I was like, not only imagine yourself having the best game you've ever played, but also imagine your teammates having the best. Because then when you think about getting these kids to think about other people, that is a piece where, like, the more that's one of the things that they talked about that can help mental health is like getting out of yourself. Like, how can I benefit other people? And we ended up actually, like, and parents told me, they were like, that's the best game those kids have played all year long in the biggest moments. Like, we were great defensively, great offensively, we were passing, we were encouraging each other, we were sound. And I was like, that's a byproduct of using your mind. We talked about these 4 dimensions of, like, you're not just here to go shoot a shot. Like, if you imagine it first and use the power of your mind and understand how it works, that's where success can follow. And also happiness as well, because it's not just one thing to be successful, but you also be happy while you're doing it.
It's funny you say, because like we have 40 athletes that's become a basketball. We have basketball teams and now, and like you said, so what I'll do with my teams is I'll tell them, hey, you have to get your mind and body ready to play. So we'll get those kids there like 20, 30 minutes before game time, right? And we're doing dynamic stretch and we're doing that, and then we'll sit them down and we'll do box breathing. And we'll have them close their eyes, and I'll walk them through, like you said, a visualization. And there'll be people walking in the hallways, and they're kind of looking at us like, they're kind of smirk, like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
But it's like telling these kids, like in life or in basketball or whatever, preparing the mind and body ready to play and perform at your highest level.
Right. So how uncommon is the experience that you had with your kids this weekend? How is it just not happening on other teams?
Well, think about this. They say that probably when you think about it, coaches in general, a lot of high-level coaches will tell you that the mind is extremely important, mind training, mindfulness, whatever. But they'll say about almost like 5% of the time is spent in that, and 95% is in the physical. So if it's that important, because you look at Bob Knight, he's talking about 3-to-1, almost mental to physical. If it's that important, then you would probably spend more time doing that, whether it's in practices, whether it's before games, even after games, resetting their minds. But it doesn't happen that often.
So it's the soft skills that you're providing opportunities for people to learn how to use those soft skills as a leader of a team or the leader of a family. the leader of an individual to incorporate not only the physical and the skill development, it is the soft side of function of high function.
Well, you think about this, like the 40 athletes basketball model. We have, Jason did this with your team at St. Therese. We have these home reflections, self-growth reflections that parents fill out. And it's stuff like, how's your relationship with your siblings, how you handle your emotions, attitude of gratitude, doing your chores. And I swear to you, on the teams I've had, the emotions, handle their emotions, is like usually rated, and we put like number one's like not yet. 5's exceptional. You can do it, it's just not yet. But they'll report their emotions, losing themselves at home, with their siblings, with their parents, whatever, emotions. And you think about it, like if we can help people manage, and you see it at professional, college level athletes, you see fights on the court, people going crazy, melees. What are we doing this? What are we teaching young kids, right?
So the 40 athlete model's for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's for everybody, and it's like when I would do these accountability, the thing is that you got to understand it's a process. Like, and it takes patience. Like, I think sometimes people see things, and maybe it doesn't work the first time, maybe it doesn't work a second time, or they're not seeing quick changes with their kids, and then people are like, oh, this doesn't work. But the truth is, like we talked about before, you got to stick with the process. And as coaches, we got to be consistent too. I was like, every Wednesday, my players knew, like, hey, if they wanted to start the next weekend, whether you were the most talented kid or the least talented kid, if you wanted a chance to start, I needed to see your character sheet, and I needed to see improvement, not just showing me, but like, and parents are like, okay, I understand what you're doing now. I was like, this is a little bit different than I was used to, but now as they were open to it and they saw the process of it, they saw their kids getting better in every aspect. And I had some kids they had some challenges. They had struggled with some of their emotions, but I even had a teacher come up to me and say, like, wow, this one kid, like, he was not enjoyable to be in class. He didn't want to be there. Over the last month, he was smiling in class. He was like happier about being there, just being an overall change in this person. Is like, everybody thinks it happens overnight, but the truth is it's consistently taking practice and being consistent with them and believing in the kids as well. Knowing like, hey, like, I believe you're going to get better. And sometimes those like 4 words that I believe in you, kids don't hear that enough.
Here's what you're talking about too, though. Even when the parents write down things and comments and about the emotions, then like as a coach, you go, hey, Jason, listen, this is what I'm seeing. I'm noticing that's going on at home. Take me through it. What's happening? What are you getting frustrated about? Okay, let's think about this. So let's see how we can change this, how we're going to think differently, and how we're going to manage our emotions more of a positive way. So you actually walk kids through it, and now you give them examples of what they can do to go, have better results in the home and have a better family.
Okay, so you're investing in this soft side of giving kids life skills through sports. You're using sports as the metaphor, and the coach is encouraged to use what happens on the court, at practice, and in games to reinforce these thoughts or these tools or strategies that 40 Athlete has come up with. How do you engage the teams? Are you targeting the coach? Are you targeting the parents? Are you targeting the entire team as a group, as a family?
Yeah, and for me is like it's together. When I first started coaching, it used to be parents out of sight, out of mind, right?
Right.
Yeah,
no
you're out here.
Yeah. We got this.
But parents
Let us have the kids.
need better level of awareness.
Okay.
Parents need better understanding of how to navigate their child through sports. So I want to work together with the parents. Right, we're on the same page. Here's what we're going to be sending out. Here's what I'm going through each week. And then I'm sending stuff to the parents. They can fill out, work their kids at home, and they go through the lessons with their kids at home. And then at practice, when I bring them in, say we talk about we got 2 practices a week, like on a Tuesday, Thursday, I'll bring him in and be, hey, by the way, we're into habits this week, how to develop habits, right? So I'll be like, the first day, what do we talk about? And then I'll have kids like, in the beginning, when you start this out, kids won't be going through it. They won't be doing it. I'll be like, okay, push-up position, I'll get in it. And I'll mess with them a little bit, accountability. Like, hey, this is a priority. You got to do this to be a part of this. Do we need to run next week? Whatever, come on now. Right. And I'm going to do it with you. So then what will happen is you'll start getting that engagement. I'll start asking questions. Okay, what did day 1? What was it talked about? Okay, yeah, great. Day 2, what was it about? So we'll go through that, reinforce it. Okay, at the end of it, let's review. What are action steps we're going to do? And I'll do 5 minutes before practice, 5 minutes after practice. Hey, Thursday, I'm going to see you again. Remember, go through Wednesday and Thursday. Only going to take you about 10 minutes a day, right? Not much to be a better person. So we'll do that to get that engaged. So coach is extremely important in this. Because you know how it is. Kids are listening.
Sure.
You got the basketball. You got the football. I have what you want.
Right.
Right? You're going to do what I ask you to do.
There's no
and how many
doubt.
times have you seen it where a coach tells a kid to do something, they go home and the parent goes, I've been telling Bill to do this for a year, and he wouldn't listen and do it. You told him at one practice. He came home and started doing it. The influence of a coach.
Yeah, no, I see it in my 14-year-old. There's no doubt. So I want to go into the entrepreneurial side of this 40-athlete build. So you guys decided that you were going to work together to try to make a difference in kids' lives. And you were going to use sports as that platform or the metaphor, but you wanted to get to this other side of things. The physical was critically important. 95% of our time spent on the physical. We are missing out on this opportunity to impact kids with the soft skills of what sports brings to us and into our lives and the opportunities for growth and learning. What was it that decided that this was going to work? And then tell me about the process over the last 3 to 4 years. How has this grown? Where are we at today? We're at, I think, a jumping off point for 40 athletes. This is the year 2023. You guys are going to impact many, many different lives with this program you've created. Tell me about the process you've gone through to build this thing.
I remember driving back from Minneapolis from a camp, and I reached out to Jason because, you know, studying personal development. I remember for me when I was back in Mocan coaching a high elite level team, and one of the assistant coaches came to me and said, hey, so-and-so's struggling, like with their anxiety, confidence. And I was like, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm going to tough them up in practice. We're going to do toughness drills, right? I didn't know what to really do, right? So I did that at practice, but I got in my car and I started driving. I was like, I almost cried. I was like sitting there going, I don't know what to do for this kid, really. And I struggled growing up my life, kicking a cooler and throwing gloves and whatever, my emotions, and struggling with maybe confidence, whatever. So I went on a journey. Like, I'm going to really study myself and understand it, because the personal development industry, it's $1 billion industry, right?
Sure.
And everybody says kids need this stuff that's being taught today. So when I was reaching out to Jason, I go, Jason, listen, I feel like we need to really teach these kids the life skills. And I've been doing this with teams over the last so many years, and I see the impact. I see parents send me stuff saying, hey, my son is playing for this baseball organization. They go, man, he's such a different kid right now in the spring. What happened? He goes, the 40 athletes basketball program. And I'm like, I see this happening over and over. And I was like, there's something to it. And I just don't want to help like 10, 20, 30 kids. I want to help more.
Right.
Can we help more? And so sat down with Jason and said, I think we can put this in videos, and we can get this in text, and we can get this where other organizations can do this. And what do you think? And then what did you say from there?
I was like, you know what? You never know till you try, right? And so and it's been a journey, right? We've had our many failures. Like I remember, like, you know, a couple of times whenever we would go to the St. Teresa media room, and there was one time we didn't have a stand, right? So we took this like music stand and we like propped it up. And so it helped us be creative. I think another thing it helped us realize is like, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen overnight. And it's like, it's learning, like, you know what? We're going to fail. We're going to fail. We're going to fail. Things aren't going to go out how we like initially thought they would, but all of a sudden, eventually, like, the right people are showing up. Like the things are happening. Like, we have a great thing that we're getting ready to do with one of the best parenting coaches in the world. We're super excited that it's going to come out later on. But I think the thing is, like, I have to remind myself, like, why am I doing this? And I have a hat that has my dad's initials on it. And I was like, if I could help one family not go through what I went through. And it's the power of, like, influencing one. Because you never know what that one could go off and do and change the world.
Oftentimes I forget that in my own journey with ShareWaves is that I want to help I want everyone to, you know, use the power of sports to change a kid's life, and let's go. But if we just change one kid's life, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Because what if that kid goes on and changes a million people's lives? Like, you just don't know. Like, I think people get so wrapped up in, like, oh, I have this many followers, or, oh, I'm not good enough because I've only done this much. I've only made this much money. I was like, why don't you focus on the baby steps? Like, what are the little wins that stack up, that compound interest effect? Because eventually it will multiply. It will get better. It will get bigger.
So let's go into this really quick. Not quick. We can take as much time as we need. But you would have done this. We don't know what you would have done if your dad hadn't committed suicide and left you to try to struggle through that adversity and you know, become resilient and grow. But you probably were still going to pursue sports as a career, and you love kids, and that was part of who you were, and that it didn't change because you lost your father, right? You God breathed that into you when you were born, right?
It's like, you always say like, they always say, well, what do you want to, when you growing up? Like, what did you love to do as a kid? I loved playing. Like I was on the baseball field, basketball court, you name it. And so when I went to college, I first was computer information systems major, and I bombed my first Java programming test. And I was like, sometimes God gives you, messages and like failures, like, hey, maybe you should pivot on this and not do computer programming, right? Yeah. And so I was like, oh, you could be a PE teacher? Like, teach kids like how to have fun, play games. And, I was like, okay. And so that ended up working out. And, doors always open up whenever I feel like you're doing what you're called to do. Like, I think that's the truth of it is like, if you follow and you trust, the right doors will open up at the right time.
So my question to you is, how have you incorporated this life tragedy, the trauma that you experienced when you were 17 years old and you found your father? How did you incorporate that into making 40 athletes even more important to a kid's life and to a parent and to a coach?
Yeah.
How has that brought even more sense of urgency and sense of desire to change in people's lives and use this for the good?
Well, I think it gave me a life mission of creating a world where depression, anxiety, and suicide are irrelevant topics in our society.
Right.
And right now, I feel like the best vehicle that resonates with me is sports. Will it be that in 5-10 years? I don't know. But I know for right now, my platform is sports to talk about my story, because there's a lot of sports intertwined with it, like how much sports has helped me, how much it's, helped me change people's lives. And it was even a connection with my dad, like going to, and I know this is going to be a tough topic, but he would take me to St. Louis Cardinals games as a kid, right? So
we're good.
We would go to, that's
baseball with your dad. He's got.
He was my first coach, he was my, out there playing catch was one of our favorite things to do. And I still, I'll play. There's a kid with a glove and a ball, like, hey, let's play catch, or if it's a football or whatever it is, it's just something that I'm now doing with my sons too. And I've realized, like, as my sons get older, I want to create a world where they can feel like I can be who I'm meant to be. And I have a safe space with great friends, great people around me, but, creating a better world for them as well. So it's kind of like, the fatherhood piece of it is really passionate for me now that I am a dad, but also because of what happened to my dad.
Right. So that's definitely fortified your drive and desire to make this successful. You guys have spent the last 3 years honing the message. Tell people what you've created. What is it that people can access when they plug into the 40 athlete model and with all the resources that you guys created? And let's talk about how it's worked, what's happening right now, and then what does the future hold? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, we've created, 4 courses now, one for parents, one for coaches, and then one for kids that are like 7 to 11, and another one's middle school age, where we have like 3 to 5 minute videos that people can access. And there are things talking about like courage, patience, power of positive attitude, all these things that people say like these are your keys to success. But we've actually went in and not only showed what it is, but taught how to do it and broke it down so people could understand it.
And they're in basically blocks of seasons, right? So they're like 8 to 10 week programs. Are they 25 week? What? How many?
Yeah, they can. We've had it to where a lot of times some people bet they want 12 weeks or they want 24 weeks.
Okay.
Like sometimes a basketball season can be 24 weeks, right? And sometimes like football or a different one could be 12 weeks. So we can customize it into a way that fits for what they're looking for. And the thing we try to do too is like, from the high schools to the middle schools to, even younger teams, it's like your experience is only going to be as good as your parents.
Right.
I'm just telling you right now. And parents, take this in the right way. You can be a little cuckoo for cuckoo nuts when it comes to sports, and they go crazy. But if they understand the process of sports and what it can do for their child, and they understand a way of going about it that creates a great experience for their child, themselves, and the coaches, and also administrators, now again, we all have a better experience.
And I'm not, this could be a whole nother podcast we could use to talk about it. It just kind of popped in my head, though. When I engage with parents in the bleachers and we're watching kids play, I go to probably 4 or 5 games a week. I'm involved in the community of youth sports in where my son plays and across the city, right? You can tell a parent who is strategically using sports to help their kid become a better person and you can tell a parent who is not. There is a huge difference, and it's a skill set, and it is a place you have to get yourself to. And I can tell you, as a dad who has sat in the stands and literally almost gotten thrown out of the gym of a 5th or 6th grade game back when I was immature and a little different than I am today. I had to learn what it meant to be a dad, to coach a son and let the sport work its magic. And it is, if you just trust the process. Am I right?
Yeah, and if I had a kid when I was 20-something, 30 years old, whatever, some of them,
You would have been.
I had it later in life. So even like I got a 4th grade and a 1st grader, and I'll be sitting there. I remember at a flag football game recently in the fall, and I just sit there and I just watch. I don't say anything. I don't. Like, people yelling from the stands trying to tell kids what to do, whatever. And I'll clap for them. I'll cheer for them. And my kid did something, and somebody was like, "What, you going to say anything?" And I'm like, I mean, it's like, no, I mean, I'll save my kid before a game. I'll tell him, "Hey, Caden, we're going to go have fun. You're going to go give your best, right? Be a good teammate, and you're going to be coachable. Right, let's go do those things. Right. And let the results take care of itself. And then when you get done, hey, what did you learn through your experience? Hey, I loved watching you play. We don't need to go talk about it.
So a lot of these 40 athlete models are built around the questions you can ask a kid after a practice or after a game, or the engagement you can have as they're fighting for a goal and trying to achieve.
Well, think about this. It's like, okay, you as a parent, there's preparation for you to go into a game. How do you handle yourself before the game, right?
Right.
And then during the game, what are the strategies? Because the emotions. I see people, I'm telling, I can't. Isn't that the president of that bank over there? Isn't that Dr. So-and-so over there? Holy crud. What's going on with him? I've had to take some parents that I've known that have worked with kids that are older, and I had to tell them, like, one kid at a freshman basketball game, or an 8th grade basketball game one time at school ball, and I was up in the stands. I had to be like, knock it off. Stop. You don't need to say anything. Quit saying stuff from the stands. Okay, right. You're done. Just cheer, support your child. And I've had to work with parents like that because I know the emotions. We can get caught up in it, right? But, think about it in coaching. I tell people all the time, like in basketball, how many people can play at one time? 5. A lot of times there might be 10, 12 kids on a team. How many basketballs you got? You got 1. Not everybody can shoot all the time, right? So coaching can be a challenge at times. But if the parents understand, again, how can my child become better through this experience right now that helps them become a better person in life? And I see kids that struggle younger at 5th, 6th grade that sometimes don't make certain teams they want to make. That's a good thing because they get motivated from within.
Sure.
They go to work, and they become better high school players, and some kids are better with them in the 5th, 6th grade.
That's exactly right. Okay, so you guys have created a great platform for parents and coaches to plug into. You have 2 programs, one for a younger student athlete, and one for an older student athlete. These can all be accessed on the 40 Athlete website, and you can learn more about it. You talked a little bit about customization. So you're still at this place with this company where you can take some time to invest yourself in someone who might have questions about what it is you're trying to do. But for everyone that's out there, there are people having success with the 40 Athlete platform, correct?
Yes. Talk
a little bit about how it's working with coaches and parents and kids, and some of the success stories you might have to share and experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's been, from schools and certain organizations that have used it, that they talk about it, that, the parents are appreciative of them actually doing something intentional. Like I tell you, there's a lot of times you'll see organizations be like, we build champions, or we do this, or we do that, and you'd be like, what are you doing? Like, what are you teaching them the life skills and the character part?
What's underneath the big?
Well, we just have our coaches kind of talk to the kids. We give them autonomy at practices and games, and part of me is like, that can be good and bad because there's some coaches that aren't trained well.
But they're basically trusting the sport in the situations that sports allows and creates. Yeah. And that's the 95% you're talking about. That's the physical part of it. I mean, if you're not investing in the language and in understanding the questions, understanding the emotions.
Well, a lot of coaches too, they're so busy.
Right.
So if you can give them an intentional way, like, okay, you're going to send this out. You're going to focus on this for this week, right? Maybe if growth mindset, and here's the micro lessons, and here's what the parents can do, and here's what you can do to work the kids. And now we're working together. And what I've gotten back, feedback from ones is like, thank you for giving us something that we can use and implement, and that the parents and again, the coaches and the kids are working together for all of us to become better, and we've seen positive changes happen through it.
Well, and you guys have also reached out into really the national community of youth development, youth sports development, and created the I Am a Champion podcast. Talk to me about the experience of just having one incredible, gifted, speaker after another come onto your podcast, tell their story, share what they're doing, their insights into how they're impacting kids. I love it. Every week I just listen. I get more and more impressed with exactly who you guys are attracting to this I Am a Champion podcast. You should be listening. Everyone should be listening to I Am a Champion podcast.
This networker right here, you take it over, Jason.
Well,
these are really incredible people.
Yeah, we've done two. We've done about 34 episodes. You talk about the I Am a Champion podcast, which is about a roundtable one. And then we've done another one where it's like just Jim and I, the 40 Athletes podcast, where we have just a guest on. And, it was like, what else could we do? And I've followed a couple, companies that have in-person development. It's like, everybody's got a podcast, and just share valuable information. And so I just went on a journey. I reached out to people, and then, they come on, give great information. And they're like, hey, you should have this person on your show. Hey, and then over the span of the last 2+ years, we've had former pro athletes on. We've had, some of the great thought leaders on across the world, some great coaches. Last year we had Digger Phelps join us for March Gladness as well.
How about that? That was cool.
And so it's been a laundry list of awesome people.
You've had some St. Louis Cardinals on too, man. You get excited. He tracks the Cardinals.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah,
but they've came on, and whoever they've been, you got done even the last guy, he's a long snapping coach. He niches teaching people how to long snap, but he gave so many great insights beyond that about how to be a better person, how to what are the things that we need to be learning as coaches, as as parents, those kind of things. And that's the goal, is what can we give out that people can learn more, and they will walk away man, I'm a better person because I spent 45 minutes listening to our guests come on, and we just ask them questions. And it's been a lot of fun too, because I know you and I walk away man, I learned a lot from that as well, from these people that come on.
Yeah, well, the ShareWaves Foundation, powered by Sports Radio 810 WHB, is looking for programs that will impact kids where they live, where they go, what they do, on the field, off the field. And when I looked in and studied and understood what 40 Athlete was trying to do, it was obvious to me that this was a program that we had to share. We had to get people engaged with this content because it's so incredibly powerful. As you said, Jim, it's a process that builds on it, and it allows you to set a student athlete up for success, not only in the season that they get the incredible inputs from 40 Athletes, but it builds, throughout their whole, engagement with youth sports into high school and beyond if they're good enough. Talk a little bit about the landscape of youth sports as you've kind of uncovered it, because you have a really good feel for what an AAU elite athlete gets out of this compared to what some kid that doesn't really quite have the athletic ability, isn't going to really play that much, but still needs to be connected to sports because sports is so good for that child.
Well, I mean, we could get a whole podcast on youth sports because youth sports is broken. I'm just telling you right now, with the win at all costs, with the pressure to play year-round, and parents are spending a lot of money. You got people with baseball and they're traveling in fourth grade and fifth grade, all these places, and you're like, why? Why are you doing all this? And you got 70% of kids are quitting a particular sport by the age of 13. I get parents all the time, my son's played baseball since the third grade. He's quitting in the seventh grade. What do you expect? I mean, it's the burnout. I tell kids in basketball, I'm they don't need to play year-round basketball. You can play 5 months for myself, and you can do skill development. You can do those stuff, camps or whatever, and you can play another sport. You can still be a good basketball player. And I get it when kids get into ninth grade in high school, and this is what I want.
Sure.
Then you can specialize in it.
Oh, I want to do theater. I'm just going to be a theater person, or I'm going to do track.
So for me, here's my challenge through youth sports with whether it's a sports organization, whether it's a coach, whether it's even a parent, is ask yourself, what is the child becoming through the sport? And my philosophy is this: if you play basketball for me and my organization for say 3 or 4 years, whatever, and you get into high school and you stop playing as a sophomore and you're focused on football or whatever it is, hopefully you can look back and say, you know what, that was a value.
Right.
Because my child became so much better through playing for that organization that they're succeeding in life. Because I'll get that through people be like, my son's doing this and that, and a lot of it had to do with what you taught them through the life skills and character program you ran. So for me, I tell all organizations, I don't care what you do something. Do something to develop children through sports that they become better people.
Well, and that's what 40 Athletes trying to do, okay? This program is helping kids navigate sports and get the most out of it, the life skills, the incredible input that sports gives you. It's a safe space to learn incredible life lessons, and the 40 Athlete, it's a program of impact for a reason. We want more kids and parents and coaches accessing this incredibly valuable information. And so that's why we've invested in this. This is part of our programs of impact for March Gladness. You guys, we've been connected for almost, I mean, I've known Jim for probably 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. And I know that every time I sit down with him, he teaches me more about myself as a dad, as a parent. I walk away with a better understanding of what it is that I need to go home and do. I'm already feeling it right now. Like, I can't wait to engage with my son, to talk to him about what his basketball season meant to him, and now he's on lacrosse. And it's a conversation that I didn't quite know how to have with him. And now, because of our conversation today, I feel better prepared to go share with him some thoughts about what it meant to, have this basketball experience. And for him, he's not a very good basketball player, and he doesn't really care that much. He just wanted to be with his buddies and enjoy it. And they didn't win.
I want to jump in on that, though. So here's what I tell kids and parents all the time. You don't have to be a particularly great skilled basketball player, and you can be a value to a team. You can be a great teammate. You can sit there, and whether you didn't play as much, if you get in a high school scout team, but you can be a great defender,
yes,
great rebounder, great screener, right? It just a great encourager. Like, you can do so many things. Like, you look at K-State basketball, and with Coach Tang taking over this year, and he was praying for someone could come to his program, and he had this transfer that reached out to him that was going to be a minister, and he was from Manhattan. He's a longtime KU fan, and ended up like playing in college, but wanted to play at K-State, and ends up being there. And he's one of the pivotal kids in that program. So the whole thing about him is how he's transformed those players in the program, how he's a rock with them. He can speak truth to them. He gets them on the same page, and he's not even playing.
Right.
And Coach thinks he's one of the most valuable players in the program.
Yep. It's crazy. And it's such a beautiful story. And of course, Coach Tang has transformed K-State to a place that, as a Jayhawk fan, I'm just so happy for him. I'm just so thrilled. And it makes sports more fun when more people are good. It's so incredible to watch a sporting event where you have the two best teams going at it, and both motivated at the same time, watching it all happen.
They can be good, but just don't beat KU during the year, okay? Just go 0-2, 0-3. I mean, you can still be good, right?
We got everything we need, but so the 40 athlete future. Where are we headed with this program, and how does it? What does it mean to be a program of impact for ShareWaves, but what does it mean to be a program of impact for families across Kansas City?
Well, we've talked about this. Like this past year, a good friend of mine, Coach Jacob Darrett, has been at KIPP Academy, right? And he asked me to come and help him this year, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll see what I can do. I can't be full-time because just come down a couple times a week. And I went down there, and I was like, oh, wow. Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, you got kids
it's
that are
eye-opening.
Struggling with teachers in school, talking back. We had to hold them accountable. We were the first part of the couple weeks of practice. We were doing accountability stuff, running.
Their gym is a bay of garages with a cement floor.
Well, we're in the Boys and Girls Club in Elmwood now. They're getting into new school and that type of stuff. But these kids with their emotions, fighting each other in practice, possibly. They're struggling with their thoughts. So you got to your thoughts causing you to feel a certain way. Your feelings are causing you to act a certain way. So we had to do a lot of work with them. And like I talked to you about, is some of these are broken families. Some of them don't have fathers around, right? And they're struggling. Like I talked to a kid that was like, you can tell he was tired at practice. And I go, hey, you okay? You know, you look like you're not focused. He goes, well, last night I didn't get good sleep because we had shots going off at the apartment complex we're at and that type of stuff. And these kids are dealing with this, right? So for me to you, I talked about like the inner city, like getting in, developing programming that can help these coaches work with these kids. Because I saw a transformation in this team that we had over a 5-6 month period that toward the end, we had a core of kids coming together, working together, right? Being more positive with each other, taking coaching in a better way, playing with great effort and attitude, and it can take place, but there's a systematic approach you need to follow. So I think we talk about developing materials that can get in these areas that are definitely needed.
You know what's fascinating about this, and we kind of have to end this. It's been a great talk, and I love you guys so much. But it's you know, you get a coach like you that understands what needs to happen in the moment, throughout the practice, into the game, after the game. You have a good coach, that really understands it and can get in a timeout and motivate a team and understand exactly what needs to happen in order for them to take the next step and win. And that's a language that a kid doesn't walk into sports hearing and understanding what it means when you say, I need you to drive and hold, and all the different things that go into it. We have to develop an educational way of giving kids the definition of what it is we're trying to do with sports. So when it happens, they hear it and they respond to it and act to it, because it could be a foreign language. I start listening to a good coach in a timeout talk about, whatever needs to happen on the court. And I'm like, God, how does he know that? How does he get that? Where does he? That is so amazing. He knew what to say. When does Bill Self? I'm not talking about. I'm talking about you this weekend saying the right things to the girls so that they win. A 2-point win in the city championship. You needed to know what to say, but they needed to know what you were saying. Mm-hmm. They needed to understand that and it took you sharing with them throughout the season. This is how I'm going to communicate to you. This is what I'm going to say. This is what's going to, and then all of a sudden in that moment, they hear the language and they know what you're saying.
Well, I think, even before I got to St. Teresa, I was at Alta Vista and Guadalupe Centers, right? And I started the basketball program there. It's like 10, 11 years ago. And we didn't win a game the first 3 years. But I'll still have kids like, hey, thank you for starting that. Like, that gave me something. Like, we have a team now. Like, kids got excited about it because they were involved in something. Because here's the truth of the matter. No matter what it is, kids are going to be looking for something to do. So you got to give them avenues of something positive that's going to be a reflection of them, like helping them move forward. Because if you don't provide it for them, they're going to find it. And sometimes, like, you don't want them to find it on their own. You want to give them opportunities. Even if you don't win a game, you can win them over knowing that they had an opportunity and a chance to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
I think it's also, too, it's setting standards. Because when you work with kids, like a lot of times at Kip when we're there, you're not showing up on time. You don't have your practice gear. You don't have this, you don't show up on time as you get past this and you're out of high school and you're working somewhere, you're going to get fired. You don't show up and you don't have your materials ready for presentation.
Right. That's why I call it the safe space to learn life skills.
Yeah.
Like, it's safe, but it's important and it's critical, and we can't win without it. So,
but understanding why we're doing what we're doing, not just here, to help you become better people to do this, but then also, too, I'm going to demand of you for greatness. I'm not going to demean you. I'm going to demand, because I see greatness in you. Right. And when you get kids to understand you believe in them and you got greatness, Bill, and I'm going to demand of you, I'm not letting you settle. Right. You're going to be the pioneer.
Well, we owe it to our kids. Obviously, there's so many negative things happening in this world. Our kids are experiencing so much. COVID did such a number on them. But even, like you said, before COVID, we had a problem with depression, a problem with anxiety, a problem with no answers, kids self-harm, suicide rate up, girls worse than boys, a lot of problems in this world. Sports is good. And sports allows you to reinforce positive life skills in order to create a transformative experience for not just one kid. You got the whole team, and you can do that for multiple kids. And that's why we love this platform, right?
Now, I do. I want to go into that. Anything in life can be good and bad, right?
Yes.
Sports can be good. sports can be bad.
100%.
Because we've seen experiences where kids have bad experiences, things happen. Somebody died. Like there's fans that go crazy, and I think it was Vermont, and you had a 6-year-old die on a basketball court.
Right.
I mean, there's things that are going on. So, yes, sports can be a great vehicle, but we have to think about how we're approaching it in a way that individuals are going to have a positive experience and are going to be better through it, right?
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to end it with that. This has been the ShareWaves March Gladness podcast featuring our programs of impact. ShareWaves is powered by Sports Radio 810 WHB. Our mission is to advance opportunities for all kids to experience the life-enriching power of sports. We know sports can be good, sports can be bad, but we believe that if we work on ourselves and we work with our kids, we can use sports to transform kids into a better way of living, better way of thinking, and we just need your help. So we encourage you all to engage in our campaign of March Gladness. Do you guys have anything you want to finish? Anything you want to say?
Well, I would just say, most kids will play a sport at some point in their life, right? And if you teach them one skill that will impact them the rest of their life, power, positive attitude, be courageous, you name it, even if they don't ever play again and you've created a better person, then we've won. So
100%.
I do want to say this, though, Bill. I've known you for many years, right? And I want to just applaud you in the sense of what you're doing, because you could do a lot of different things. You could. I mean, you really could right now. But you've invested a lot of time that people don't see in trying to create something that hasn't worked out the way you expected it a little bit. And you've been through some challenges, but I see you continuing to press forward, and you have a vision. And truly, I see it in your heart. You want to help people. Like raising the money is going to help people, and I see that in you. It's not about you. It's not about the financial stuff for you. It's about impacting people. Right. And I see that in you. And I want to commend you, because everybody that's listening with March Gladness, you have somebody like Bill Brandmeier that's behind ShareWaves that wants to truly impact individuals, and even if it's just one.
And it just one. Yeah. Well, so find out more about ShareWaves, go to sharewavesfoundation.org. Find out more about 4D Athletes, go to 4D Athletes with an S, right? 4dathletes.com. And learn about their programs. These are incredible. You will be enriched by what they provide. Parents and coaches and kids, jump in. Get more out of sports through 4D Athletes. Thank you so much for joining us. March Gladness will continue. We'll have other programs of impact to share with you. Appreciate you. Thanks, Ben, back there helping me out, getting this all ready to go. We're going to have a great month. March Gladness, here it is. Before the madness, let there be gladness.